So now we're going to initiate the long store here. Alright, we're hitting enter here. We're scrolling down and we're going to head to, enter again, and then we're going to make sure that we select yes and hit enter again. And then you're going to make sure that the waste tank is empty, and then we're going to hit enter. Once it's empty, you go to yes again, hit enter, and it's going to tell you to remove the cartridges. Okay, so here we're going to remove the cleaning solutions in the white channels. And this is going to allow us to start the discharge. So if you see here, it's discharging it now. And so we're going to wait for this discharge to be completed before we continue to the next step. So now it's asking for the 2 cleaning solutions. Since we're just flushing the white, it's only going to require 2. So now we're going to insert the 2 cleaning solutions we were talking about. And it's saying washing head, so it's beginning to flush the cleaning solution through, and then we're going to discharge it afterwards. Then it's going to tell us to remove the cartridges again. And it's going to continue its process of flushing that solution out. Okay, so now it's telling us to insert those cleaning cartridges again. All right, so now we're plugging them back in again. And it's going to continue washing head one more time. Okay, so here it's asking for a replacement ink. Now, because one of the 2 has basically drained, you're going to need to replace both because they're both going to be basically empty. So we're grabbing an additional 2 cartridges. We're taking out the old ones that are empty, and we're putting in the new ones. And now it's going to finish washing the head, and with these 2 additional cartridges that you put in, you're going to have a lot of extra cleaning solution in them. So just keep that in mind and put them to the side for maybe a future time where you need to do this. So now it's telling us to remove the cartridges once more. All right, we're removing the cartridges. So now it's saying washing head, so it should be discharging. Now that it states no cartridge 5 and 6, this is where we will begin our next step. The long store is complete, so we're able to kind of move into replacing the dampers and the head. For the next portion, you're going to need 2 tools. And you're going to need a Phillips here and a 2.5 millimeter. I don't know if you can see that here. It's an Allen key. Okay, so now we're going to begin the replacing of the head. And before we do that, we're going to open, the media here, and we're going to roll this back. It's mandatory that you do this because this is a PET glue-coated film, and the last thing you want to do is get any of this coating on the bottom of your print head, as it could ruin your printer. All right, now we're unlocking the head and we're sliding it over. We're going to pull it to the middle here. Okay, and we're going to power down the machine. Go ahead and pull the power cord, both of them, the main and the heater. And we're going to make sure to hit the power button a few times to make sure that the power is completely cut. As we're working on the head, we want to make sure that there's no power going to this. Okay, so there's going to be 3 screws here to remove the cover. This is step 1. You're going to have a screw right over here. That's 1. You're going to have an additional screw back here. That's 2. And then you're going to have another one on the other side here. That's 3. All right, so we're going to remove these screws real quick. Okay, so we're removing the case now. You're just going to slide it off, and this is going to show the inside of the head cavity here. And we're going to have the color head here and the white head that we just flushed here. You could actually see the lines, they're flushed, so you're not going to have a problem when you remove this cap here. Okay, so now we're removing the cap of the head here. This is where the dampers are housed. You can see that the 2 dampers are right in here. Now what we're going to need here while we're disconnecting these, Okay, you can see that he's removing each one of these connectors. You're going to want to make sure that these connectors go in the appropriate spot that they are plugged into when you put them back. But we're going to have two new dampers here, and then we're going to have a location where we could rest the head. This is our lint-free cloth. Okay. Once we remove those from the head casing here, we're going to clean it. Right, so just get in there, kind of clean any excess ink that you can. It's not a big deal if you miss a little bit. And we're going to grab the new dampers and we're going to place them in this orientation here. So you can see they kind of match up. Alright, and then with your fingers here on the bottom, you're going to hold the damper in place while you reconnect the caps. Super simple to replace the dampers on this unit. You know, just take your time. Make sure that you're not perfect. Alright, and then once these are all set, we're going to move on to the next step, which is replacing the printhead. So now we're going to begin the removal of the head. There's 4 screws. You're going to see one in each corner here. So 1, 2, 3. And then the 4th one's a little different, but it's back there in the corner. So we're going to begin the removal of the screws. So now we're going to remove the head. We're going to slowly lift it. We're going to be careful with it. And then here we go. We have the head cables. We're going to gently remove these. You definitely don't want to bend a pin. Okay, so there's 2 on each side. All right, and that's as simple as it gets for the head removal. This is where we would put the head if we're trying to maybe flush it. In this case, we're going to be putting back in the same head. Because this is a functioning head, but you would have an excess head on the side, and that's where you would bring the head back here. You'd make sure to to plug in the cables appropriately to each side, and we're going to go ahead and show you. So we have the 2 cables here, and we're going to do one at a time. All right, so we're placing the cable in, and then on the other side, we make sure that it's slotted appropriately. You always begin with the top cable first and then the bottom cable. And then you'll gently seat the head back into its bracket. And this is where you'll put the screws back in. Okay, and now we're gonna put back on the case to the head. It just snaps on. So just make sure it's in the correct orientation. Make sure none of the cables are in the way. All right. And then once it's snapped on, it's ready to go. And you're gonna be putting back on the case. All right, so we're placing in the screw real quick. And then once the case is on, we're able to make sure that the head height is correct to how we had it set before. In this case, we're moving it to low. And then we're going to set the head right back into its native position here. From here, we're going to make sure that the unit is plugged back in. And then we're able to power it on and start it up. Okay, so now we're pulling the paper out, we're making sure the media guards are on, and then we're closing the clamp here. It's going to initialize. Okay, and now it's going to begin the ink charge, and this is where you are going to hit enter here. And you're going to insert the cartridges that are no longer in there. In this case, it's going to be the white inks. So we got to make sure we shake them. Do not forget that. It's an integral part of making sure your machine's going to work properly. All right, It's beginning the ink fill, and then once the printer is inked back up, it's ready to go. You'll be doing your nozzle check like normal and your test prints.